so many people are trying to avoid all these things, the pressure, they're trying to avoid failure, they're trying to avoid obstacles. And if you're trying to avoid all those things, you have dead people goals, right? Because dead people don't have to worry about all those things.
Right.
If you want to live full out, you have to know that that's part of living.
Yep.
It's part of living to have problems. If you want to live full out, part of that is going to be the pressures, the failures, all the different things, because we only get this one life to live. And if you live it risk-free, then you're probably not living at all.
Welcome to the Push Podcast. Why push? Because a nudge is just too friendly.
And friend, we're here to help you get your shit together. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Janelle.
And we're the Copelands.
We've got 3 daughters, 2 businesses, a mortgage, and lots of responsibilities. So just like you, we're struggling to find that perfect balance of ambitious go-getter hustle while still staying present, loving our kids, and working on our relationship.
And doing the laundry, going to the grocery store. Oh, and don't forget being mindful.
Yeah, all of the stuff. So if you're juggling all the things, but you're also trying to get to the next level, guess what? You're in the right place. So get ready to be pushed.
And welcome to the Push Podcast. This is your co-host, Eddie, and this is my lovely, beautiful co-host,
Janelle Copeland. Did you forget my name?
No, I was going to let you introduce yourself. I think you have the power to do that.
You have the power with the buttons, and lately you've been hitting the buttons without 91. Telling me.
What are you talking about?
You hit the buttons and then you just go. So, anyways,
I'm like the Wizard of Oz. I just kind of.
I don't like that. Welcome back to the Push Podcast, guys. Today is an exciting episode 91, as my lovely co-host said. And that means we're on a countdown, officially starting with this episode to 10 episodes to the 100th episode. Good job.
Yes, good job.
So I don't know if you guys...
They said we wouldn't make it.
Who said we wouldn't make it?
I don't know. People say that all the time. I'm like, who is that imaginary secret army you have that they just kind of comes out of nowhere all the time.
Okay. Well, no one said that we wouldn't make it, but a lot of people might not know why we started the podcast. And so let's maybe address that, because people think like, oh God, do you guys do this for money? We don't do this for money. This was a passion project that we one day just decided we have really great conversations in our home and with our friends and family. And we're just like thought provokers. And so we can turn a TV show into a long conversation with life lessons. And we wanted to share this outside of the walls of our home with people like you guys, you listeners who leave us great reviews, who DM us all the time and tell us that you love the Push Podcast. And so we committed to just doing this for 100 episodes to see what was going to happen. Like, would people like it? Do they care? Do they want to listen to the things that we want to talk about? And so the podcast is going to be over after 100 episodes.
What?
Just kidding.
Just kidding. Like, that was not... I was like, I don't remember talking about just doing 100 episodes.
No, we find great enjoyment with the podcast. I'm not going to lie, it can get challenging sometimes to come up with new titles that we think that our listeners will not only like and love, but find beneficial, because that's the purpose of the Push Podcast, is to give you information that will help you push through challenging things in life.
Yeah, and I think that over time we felt like things started to come up, and we found that the podcast had power, and it resonated with people, and so which continued to motivate us to have new content, to push further, even for ourselves, to challenge ourselves to grow and to really turn this into something really special. So we know with all good things and amazing things, it takes time. And so it's great that we put in for 100 episodes. And so,
91, don't get ahead of yourself.
Well, 91, and it will continue to push forward.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to make these next 10 episodes, starting with this episode, which you're probably going to be listening to sometime in the first week of June. So we're going to encourage you. We're going to be giving away 30 prizes, and we're looking each week for 3 comments. You can comment by writing a review here on iTunes,
Please do.
Or leaving a comment on YouTube if that's where you're watching it. Or you can share like the stories. Lots of people share on Instagram in their stories, like, this is a great episode, really helped me. Go listen to the Push Podcast. So just share the Push Podcast somehow, some way, tag us in it. We'll find you. Our team will find you. And we're going to send you our new Guide to Thrive gratitude journal. It could be one of these two. And Eddie said, well, what if you're a guy? We're in the process of making a more masculine friendly version of the Guide to Thrive. So it's a 90-day journal. It's now available on Amazon.com. You can just search Guide to Thrive, but we're going to send you one of these and also a lovely pusher t-shirt. So we'll be looking for the next 10 episodes. We're going to be looking for your review or your share. And just let us know, like, do you have a favorite episode? Was there something that you learned? And just, it's a way for us to pay you back for listening, but also for us to know that we're on the right path and we want to continue to impact people. So yeah, it's win-win for all of us.
I love it.
So happy 91st episode.
Yeah. And you know what we need?
What?
We need What in the World shirts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. I mean, we need that.
Okay.
We need to find.
So I have a what in the world. We're going to dive in really quick.
I have a what in the world too.
Because I want to get through this and make sure that people understand that today we're talking about ways to, deal with the pressures of life.
Mm-hmm.
And this week I've had tons of conversations with great friends, people I love that are just dealing with the pressures of life that are just weighing them down and they feel really heavy. And, just a lot of different perspective shifts that I've shared this week that I've taken on, that I've tried to kind of think about. So this is a perfect episode if you are struggling with something, if you feel like life is hard, business is hard, problems are finding you, you can't catch a break. This episode is for you.
Love that.
Okay. So
Love
my
pressure.
what in the world, yesterday, I went to our favorite pizza place. If you're in Carson, go to Rosario's Pizza. It's a family business. They've been there over 35 years. The pizza's expensive. It comes piled high with any toppings that you get. It's the best, most outstanding, our favorite pizza. So I go to pick up a pizza. And I park in this parking lot and there is no one else there. I'm right in front of the pizza place and I get out, I go up and they're doing like kind of curbside, you just go to the door. And so they say, okay, thanks for your payment. We need 10 more minutes. Just wait in your car and we'll kind of wave you down when it's ready and you can get out and come get it. No problem. So I get in my car and this monster truck pulls up next to me.
Okay.
I mean, like, if I get out of my car, which was hard because they could have parked anywhere in the parking lot and they chose to park right next to me on my driver's side. And so he pulls up, he's really close to me. And I'm like, well, this is inconvenient. Like, why are you so close? I don't understand. Like, you could park anywhere else, right? There are so many open spaces. And his tire is literally, once I try to get out of my car and I have to like carefully get out of my tiny little electric car. So I have to get out of the car. His wheel, literally the top of his wheel goes beyond my waist while I'm standing. So that's like 3 feet at least. Right. And so I just like look at the car and I'm just like annoyed. Like, why did you park so close to me? And I'm having to like maneuver to get myself out of this. Right. So I get my pizza, go back. And I'm, trying to get in my door. I left my car running, so my key was in there. So when I tried to open the back door, I couldn't open it because my driver door was the only one open. So I have to go back over, sandwich my way through my, between me and the monster truck. And in the process of trying to get into my car, you guys, I'm wearing a dress and my hip brushes up against the stupid monster truck wheel and it destroys my dress.
Dang.
And I'm pissed. Like, that is so rude that you could have parked anywhere, but not only
anywhere in the world.
Not only did you park close to me, but now it's destroyed my dress. So I literally sit there and I'm staring at the wheel and I'm just mad. And I'm like noticing the armor all. Right. And I'm just like, this is bad. So I walk around the whole car, put the pizza in the back. And I just like literally at one point, I think I crossed my arms and just like looked at the truck tire. Like, it's unnecessary. Like, why do you even need this? I don't understand. Clearly you're not off-roading because the car is clean and it's got armor all over the damn 3-foot tire. Right. So I just look at it. And then finally I get in my car, throw it in reverse. And the guy in front of me kind of like waves me down and he goes, I'm sorry. And I rolled my window down. I go, what? And he goes, I'm sorry. And I said, oh, is that your car? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, your truck or your wheel just ruined my dress. And he goes, I know. I'm sorry. That's why I'm apologizing. And then the rage comes over me. And I'm like, you could have just let me go because you saying sorry, I don't know why. It just pissed me off more because it was like, Yeah, I was looking around to see who it belonged to. He must have seen me. And then he wanted to just kind of like politely say, sorry, well, you saw me brush against it. Yeah, fine, whatever. Everything's about perspective, right? And my perception of that was like, you should just let me go. Because if you saw it ruin my dress and you saw me get frustrated, you probably shouldn't have said anything. Because then my next question should have been, why the hell did you park so close to me?
Well,
so it's minor and it's stupid, but my dress is ruined.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been your shoes because you had like
all white shoes.
All shoes. Yeah. So if you would have brushed against that,
yeah.
there'd been no recovery for that.
Just letting you know, I don't care about this stuff, but it was just like minor, kind of annoying.
I think the things that annoy you the most for everybody is the things that you know could have been avoided.
That's the thing.
Yeah, like
it's just
you just could have parked anywhere in the world. But you
and I'm not going to talk about this ever again other than on this podcast with my friends.
And the part she left out is that she actually popped each tire.
I did not.
With the knife that she had in her purse.
I do carry a knife, but I did not. I did not slice his tires.
So I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah, thank you.
But what my what in the world is I have currently right now, this very second, I have 2 different pairs of socks on. I have 2 different pairs of socks on, one of which is a little bit too small.
Okay.
And that's my left foot. And my left foot currently right now is crawling to the front of my shoe. And I woke up this morning and I was like putting on some shorts. I was like, okay, let me get some socks that are, I don't want to wear, what do they call tube socks with shorts because I'm not like, an infinity one, but I'm not an old man walking around with New Balances on with cargo pants on. But
New Balances are great, but go ahead.
Like the old school ones. But I'm just saying. And so I just want to know where the hell are all my socks? I literally have bought packs of, ankle socks that I wear that are dark colored socks.
That fit
and
your
they
feet.
are gone.
Yeah.
Like gone. I'm talking about 12 pairs. So maybe 24 pairs of socks are gone.
I know how you can fix this. You can start doing your own laundry.
Well, I do my laundry. I mean, we share laundry, by the way, but they're gone. Okay. And I don't blame you. Mm-hmm. I blame
the children that you asked today.
And I blame one specific young lady who works out twice a day that I know she's wearing short socks. Mm-hmm. And I know that the inventory for her socks is coming from my stash.
So he literally asked Jasmine today, our oldest, are you the one that stole all my socks? And she looks down at him and sees that he's missing a sock, which is really in his shoe. It's lost in his shoe. And then he has another sock and she just starts laughing so hard.
Yeah, so, in my face. So that's my what in the world. Where the hell are my socks?
I'm gonna go buy you some socks today.
I want to go with you.
You should,
because I want to identify these socks, and I'm going to write in the socks, and I'll write your initials in there too. But I'm gonna write our initials in these socks, and if I find them in these girls' room, I promise you
should just kick them out.
I'm going to park my monster truck next to them and ruin everything in their life. All right.
So that way, when Jasmine gets out from her workout, her Lululemon pants can get destroyed by the Armor All.
Every time they go anywhere, I'm just going to park my monster truck, which I don't have, which I will buy just to ruin their day.
Okay, so let's dive into this episode. We were talking about ways, to help people deal with the pressures of life. And so there's tons of titles like Dealing with the Pressure of Life, 7 Ways to Free Yourself from the Pressures of Life. This really comes down to like coping mechanisms, but we thought we would start out with like, how do you get there? And so we are working on customer segmentation at this moment right now with our Passion to Profit students. And so we decided to segment these people into 4 different categories because everyone in life has problems, right?
Right.
But we feel like some people perform better under pressure. Some people crumble under pressure. And so this episode is to help you identify where you might fall in these different, 4 categories, 4 different segments. And then we're going to try to give you some tips on how people wind up in the categories that they're in and what you can do to move to another one and what you can do to really thrive in the category that you're in.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we kind of define pressure in a sense. And I don't have the Webster's dictionary, but maybe you want to
let me pull it up for you.
But for me, pressure, like you mentioned problems, I think there's problems all over, right? We have problems in life, right? Big ones, small ones, in between that we have to deal with every single day. And then we have the pressure that comes along with that. And that usually means that there is a certain amount of stress being applied to us mentally, whatever you describe, and we're going to go and get into that. But there's an outcome that you're like, I have to get this outcome. So the pressure's on me. I have to complete something. So the pressure's on me. And so I think that that's important. But, that old saying, pressure busts pipes, right?
What?
Yeah, pressure bursts pipes. I think that's the old adage.
Okay.
When you're looking at me like I'm crazy, like
I'm
I don't even want to
today
know
years
this.
old when I heard that for the first time. But okay.
But they say pressure bursts pipes, and that's an old plumbing term where if your
I'm glad
pressure
you brought that up because I have a plumbing issue.
Okay, you do?
I'm going to talk about it.
Okay, so all right, we'll talk about it.
Okay, so the definition of pressure is continuous physical force exerted on or against an object by something in contact with it. So, let's see another one. Number 2, the use of persuasion, influence, or intimidation to make someone or something do something.
I don't agree with that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I'm putting pressure on you to intimidate you to do something.
Well, I think persuasion and influence, I don't think it's pressure.
Well, that's another form of, I guess some people perceive it as pressure, which, everything in this episode is up to your interpretation. That's
right.
really what we're going to be talking about.
I see what you're saying. So I can say that's appropriate because, what we want to make sure you understand is that we're not saying pressure is good or bad. And we'll talk about it. You're probably hearing this. And if in your mind you already think that pressure is a bad thing, then this is the episode for you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the 4 different segments that we discussed, and what category you might be in. So number 1, there's the high performance achievers. These are people that are pursuing greatness. They understand they're signing up to feel pressure. They're choosing to do hard things. And they're choosing to be constantly put under pressure. So people like this are athletes, people who perform at a high level in any sort of
entertainers,
any sort of profession that they have. And people like our middle daughter, Kayla, who recently is deciding that she had 2 options for college. I could go to a rigorous, well-known school in Chicago for theater, or I could pack up my whole entire life, forget everything that I know, and go study abroad in Scotland, not having any friends, family, or support, knowing that this particular school said this is a rigorous program. And if you are not the kind of person to want to sign up for something that's hard, extremely challenging, most people won't make it, then this isn't the school for you. When they said that to her, she was literally like, I'm going to Scotland. This is the place for me. So those types of people, they're worth talking about for a moment because they look at pressure differently, right?
Yeah.
And that's that Mamba mentality.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, and that's when you get into that Mamba mentality. And if you're not familiar with that term, Mamba mentality was kind of created about Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant's alter ego on the court was the Black Mamba, right? The Black Mamba is a venomous snake. But where it came from was this mentality of his approach to the game, right? And so he has a book that's called, something Kobe Bryant, Mamba Mentality. And I'll read you what the definition is. And so Mamba Mentality is more of an approach than anything else. It's about attacking what's in front of you with passion and purpose, without fear and doubt, and without an ounce of quit. No matter what it is, good, bad, success, failure, that's your approach. That's what it means to have a Mamba mentality. And I think when you think about making the decision, whether it be Kayla's decision or individuals at high achievers, I think that one line, without an ounce of quit, is so important because
There's
what
no
these
way out.
individuals say is that the pressure, I know it's going to be there, but I'm not going to quit anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, there's no way out.
Right.
I wish whoever is walking down our hallway would pick up their feet because I could hear everything that they're doing. We were filming this, as always, in our home, and it's difficult to get everybody in the house to understand. But let me tell you, if our girls are recording something, they will not hesitate to yell down the hallway. So I'm lightly yelling down the hallway, pick up your feet, please. Back to regularly scheduled programming.
The people are like, I didn't even hear that.
Yeah. So the thing is high performance achievers, these are people that are willing to do whatever it takes to be great, right? So how and why do they sign up for pressure knowing that it's there, but they have no ability to quit? They probably complain about it from time to time, but they are self-inflicting this pressure.
Yeah, because
yet still showing up and performing at a high level with great energy, great excitement. And then most often they get to reap the rewards of enduring such tremendous pressure.
Yeah, and I think this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about probably at the very end, but I think it's just what they make it mean, right? And so pressure for some people, which we'll talk about, is damaging. It's harmful. And then for these high achievers, pressure is like the gateway. It's what's necessary. In fact, it's the pressure that narrows their focus. It's the pressure that really brings the best out of them. And I think that we see that oftentimes outwardly when it comes to athletes, because we get more of it behind the scenes of how they train and what goes into it, and their perspectives. When after a game they're interviewed and you can see what they did and how they even talk about the pressure. We knew that, like, you'll hear them say, we knew this was going to be a pressure-filled game, so we wanted to rise to the occasion, right? And the only way you can get through pressure is you have to get through it. There's no overcoming pressure. You have to move through it in order for it to be released.
So a couple things you said. They're focused and their eyes are on the prize, really, and they're extremely clear on what they want. And I would say that in most cases, high performers, they have done a little bit of research to know what they're signing up for, what the journey might look like, and they sign up for it anyways, knowing that it's not going to be easy.
Right.
So that's category number one. And those are the high performance achievers that are signing up to voluntarily put themselves under pressure. Category number two is the aspirational achievers. I would say the bulk of the people that follow and listen to the Push podcast fall under aspirational achievers. And here's what the definition of that is. They like the idea of success. They like the idea of, being a business owner or a homeowner or an auto owner. They like the idea of having a pet. They like the idea of having a career that makes tons of money. They like the idea of marriage, but they don't really think about all the problems, I'm using problems in an air quote, that will probably come along with, pursuing or maintaining those things, right? And this is like a really tough thing to kind of comprehend because one of my girlfriends, she owns a historic home. Recently, the pipes burst and now the house has some issue. Right. The house has some issues and it's just like a terrible thing for her to be going through right now.
Right.
I understand that's inconvenient. I understand that sucks. I understand that costs money. We also pay for insurance. Right. We also understand that when we are dealing with insurance companies, it's often not the most pleasant. It's often not the fastest. Right. So we have to have a little bit of understanding that one, if we sign up to purchase a historic home, it's likely something is going to burst or need to be prepared. It's likely it's going to cost a lot of money and it's likely it's going to go at a snail's pace.
Pace, right.
Yeah, snail pail, right? And so same thing with marriage. We pray for the husband or the wife or the partner, but we're not willing to say if I really read any blog on marriage, you'd learn that marriage is not as easy as people think that it is. Same thing with having children. I remember when my sister and my brother-in-law had a kid, they were like, there's nothing anyone could tell you to prepare for how hard the first few weeks of going from being single, just the two of you, to now caring for and keeping alive a small child that cries, totally depends on you. There's no way that you can be prepared for that, right?
Right. And I think that when you are aspirational, a lot of times what will keep you from pursuing and being in action is the fact that you maybe are calculating the problems, you're calculating the risks, you're calculating the obstacles that may come up. And so that pressure that you can almost feel in your imagination before you even take the first step is what slows people down, is what stops people.
Stifles them,
and stifles them for even going forward. And so I think that those that gravitate to the pressure and those that anticipate the pressure, and that anticipation, is going to be painful. It's painful to go through pressure. It's painful to go through the obstacles, but it's a necessary thing.
But is it?
Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you are trying to achieve something great, there's going to be pain, right? There's going to be struggle. And I'm not saying physical pain, but I'm saying, mental pain. You're going to go through things that you have to be ready for.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think we're talking about a couple of different things, though. Like this aspirational achiever likes the idea of success, likes to sign up for the difficult job or career that pays more, but then is constantly complaining about the stress that they have to endure at work, right?
Gotcha.
This person is someone who likes the idea of business ownership, but is constantly complaining about the customers, the pandemic, the government, all of the things that they still have yet to master or perfect, right?
So you're saying like they do these things, they want to go after these things, but they're not even like the pain, the pressure that comes along with it. They're trying to push away, not knowing that they're married together.
Right.
Like you
so
can't
these are
have
the people
this without that.
These are the people that often pray things away. I just can't catch a break. I wish that, the universe would let up on me. Like it's one thing after another. Right. So two things happen. You're in love with the idea of, the aspirational success. You want it. So you're going to sign up for hard, scary, challenging things. But then the way that you're perceiving every single turn that usually has a new obstacle, because business ownership is not easy. Marriage is not easy. Raising children is not easy. So when you're in pursuit of something because you want to be an achiever, it's like the relationship that you have with the friction, the relationship you have with accepting that the journey will probably be challenged has not really come to fruition yet. Like you haven't really come to grips with, I have challenges at work, but this is what I signed up for. Like I genuinely love what I do. And I'm not going to let, once a week, some issue with a coworker or a bad boss, I'm not going to let it derail me from the fact that I really love what I do.
I'm going to just slow you down because you said something that's really powerful. And I want to make sure people caught that. You said your relationship with the friction.
Right.
And I think like that's a huge thing to say because it moves you to ask a question. What is my relationship with this friction? What is my relationship with this pressure? And I think that when you look at that relationship, if it's I want to get it off of me, I want to repel it, I want to move away from it.
I want it to go away. I'm praying it away.
What you have to realize is that you're trying to move away from the things that you alluded to, that you asked for,
right?
That you signed up for, that you said you wanted. And I think that when people really understand that those things are married together and they're part of it, and you have to assess your relationship with it to make sure you understand that hey, how I'm looking at this, how this plays a part in my life, and what I'm going to do with it will matter whether I continue to aspire and go for bigger and greater things and always be in pursuit.
Right. Here's the second part of the aspirational achiever, though. The aspirational achiever, again, likes the idea of success, likes the idea of the fancy cars or whatever success looks like to you. Maybe it's not monetary, right? But they like the idea of aspiring to achieve a life greater. And then what happens is they do a little bit of research, and now I'm completely stuck and stagnant because the idea of pursuing that is hard, scary, it's lofty, and I don't think that I want to do that. Like, I don't want to apply all that unnecessary pressure. So then I feel like that's purgatory, and that's even worse than not trying, because then you're robbing yourself from the experience of ever even getting close to that success that you're aspiring for, because you're stuck in the, I like my comfort zone. Like, I feel real good right here, but at that level, that's going to require more work, and that's going to come with more problems. So these are the types of people that say more money, more problems.
Right. And that
I say more money, more resources,
more opportunity,
more money, more opportunity, more money, more access to, lots of things. Right.
Right. And it takes me back to when we had a conversation with our students, and if someone said something very similar, so many people are trying to avoid all these things, the pressure, they're trying to avoid failure, they're trying to avoid obstacles. And I read a quote and I posted it. It said, well, if you're trying to avoid all those things, you have dead people goals, right? Because dead people don't have to worry about all those things. Right. If you want to live full out, you have to know that that's part of living.
Yep.
It's part of living to have problems. If you want to live full out, that is part of that is going to be the pressures, the failures, all the different things, because we only get this one life to live. And if you live it risk-free, then you're probably not living at all.
Right. So ask yourself, are you in that aspirational achievers category? The first one, I call it aspirational achievers 1, or A, is I like the idea of success, but I'm complaining every single time something kind of comes my way that I'm not familiar with, and it just feels daunting and I feel like I can never catch a break. Or you're the aspirational achiever B who's like, I really, really want to be successful. I know that there's something greater for me, but I'm struggling behind my fear. I'm struggling and I'm stuck because, I have too many things to do right now. And there's just no way because I already have problems and stuff on my plate, right? So I like the idea, but now I'm going to make myself miserable because my laundry list of to-dos is already so great that I can't catch a break in order to find my footing to be able to implement the things that I have to do. And we see this often with our students. They sign up because they want to grow their business and they know that deep down they're like a boss babe or boss dude. But then when we go through the program, after a couple of weeks, they kind of fall off and like, oh, you don't even understand the weeks that I've been having. My kid got sick and my dog wound up in the vet and, my pipes busted in my house and this and that. And I'm like, okay, you understand that life is never going to pause so that you can actually show up and get better at business.
Yeah.
It's not going to magically stop and be problem free because you decide that you want to now pursue the next level of your life. So really think about, but the bulk of the people that follow us are going to wind up in one of those two categories.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be on all four of them.
Yeah, well, let's see. So the next category 3, is you're not aspiring, but you still feel the pressures of life. Okay, so you don't have very specific goals, but you have a job, you got to go to your job, and every damn day a coworker pisses you off or you're complaining about traffic. Guess what? If you live in Los Angeles, there will be traffic. Mm-hmm. That to me is not a surprise. So why are we still talking about it 20 years later?
Yeah. And it's interesting because the people that don't aspire, and so like I know people like close to me and family that I just don't see aspiring. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening, and to me, this is so ironic, is that those that are trying to pursue pressure, those that are trying to aspire for pressure, they're kind of creating the pressure in their life. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference, like, just talked about. Some are complaining about it and some people know that this is part of the deal. Then you have people who don't even try to do anything, don't try to stretch themselves, but they're not realizing that life will continue to throw things at them. And because they don't prepare themselves by aspiring, by increasing their tolerance for tough situations, by anytime you're aspiring is if you're learning, right? Mm-hmm. Then you really don't know how to handle when life's harshest lessons, right? And so I just see it all the time when people don't aspire. They're not realizing that life is trying to throw things at them. And sometimes the universe is throwing things at them to try to wake them up from sleeping. I think this is the sleeping group.
Yeah. So this group is important because I think they have dead people goals, perhaps, right? You're not in pursuit of anything because you're just kind of stacking. Like things are happening for a reason. Like you're getting late fees in the mail because you're not doing a good job of pursuing a higher education around how to spend your money, right? And so you're not really shooting for the stars, but you're using all of these other things to like let you be pulled down by this pressure. And these are the types of people I think are creating their own problems. Like you're creating this environment that makes you unhappy, makes you feel stuck, makes you go through struggle throughout the day. And you're not even pursuing anything. So you're convincing yourself like, this is why I don't pursue anything because I already have a laundry list of things.
Well, and I'll just add, I think you are unconsciously creating these problems. Correct. Because when the problems hit you, you're going, woe is me. Like, why? I didn't even do anything. Well, why would this happen to me? I don't even do anything.
Right.
And I think these are the folks that seek comfort.
I was just going to say these are the comfort zone.
These are the folks that look for, I just want to get a job because it's chill. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll never forget a friend of mine, I said, hey, how's work? He goes, oh, man, let me just tell you, it's so easy. And they pay me for it. And I was like, I have never thought about getting a job and
wanting it to be easy.
For it to be easy. It's just not part of my DNA. Like if it was easy, I'd probably be bored.
Meanwhile, I interviewed the other day Gigi Butler. She's the founder of Gigi's Cupcakes, who was a cupcake business in Tennessee that went from 2 stores to 150 stores and became a franchise in like a matter of 2 years. And she said she had a small little cleaning business and she was cleaning toilets and cleaning houses. And I guess her words, she was cleaning Taylor Swift's, toilet. And she said, "Dear God, please, I'm so bored. Please challenge me."
Yeah.
So you have people like your friend, who I think was a family member, that said, "Oh man, I love this job. It's so easy." And then you have people like Gigi who are like, "Geez, I'm so bored. God,
Right.
please challenge me and take me to the next level," right? So that's kind of the point of this conversation is like, are you trying to avoid the challenges, or are you embracing them, or are you pursuing them?
Right.
The last category is these are people just struggling to deal with or avoid pressures in life all the way around, right? So these, again, I'm praying for a break. I can never catch a break from the universe. The pressure is just piling up on top. Everything's falling apart. It's one problem after another, and outside forces can usually be the thing that they're blaming things on.
Yeah. And the thing is also too, these are folks that never raise their hand. Right.
Okay.
And so you ever been in
Struggling silently?
Yeah, it's not struggling silently, but they don't have any initiative because of the fact that they're trying to avoid it.
Well, these are the people that are waiting for their parents to die so they can inherit their house and then sell the house and then actually have money.
Okay. All right. That's so specific.
That's a thing.
No, it is a thing.
Right?
And that's
I'm waiting for, I'm just waiting for something to happen so that way something else can be better in my life. I'm waiting for
and
something.
I think if you're listening to this right now, and let's just think about you're assessing your life and you say, "Oh my God, like I do everything I can to avoid like hard things," then this is the category you're in. No one's judging you and there's no shame, but you have to identify that life is going to be really difficult for you from a standpoint that you may end up regretting large chunks of your life. Right. Because you set back, you didn't raise your hand, you set back, you you actually aspire to do anything. You actually tried to maneuver and avoid all of the obstacles instead of knowing that you got to go through them. Right. And so these are the people who may find someone that they really care about and they love, but they go, "Oh, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm not even going to even try. And I'm just going to stay away from a relationship." These
are the people that are not in a relationship and they don't date because they think that all men are bad. All the good men are taken, "Oh, I don't get on dating apps because there's serial killers on there. You can't trust anyone." People these days, you can't find any good help. Like these are those people who are like creating this world of like, well, the world's not here to help me. So, what's the point? I'm already dealing with enough type of thing. So I'm just wondering where you're at. This is really just like an episode you should be listening to, doing some self-reflecting. I'm going to get into a couple of things that I think that we can do to kind of like figure out, are we trying to go from one level to the next? Hopefully you've already had some clear perspective on, they're right. Like I am completely trying to avoid problems, but it's true. If I were to pursue entrepreneurship, I know that I'm going to face challenges that I'm unfamiliar with because it's something I've never done before.
The idea of this episode really comes from the fact that when we were watching, like it was a Demi Lovato, right? And she was talking about her career. I almost just like had a brain lapse there. And she was talking about like all the different things. And I have a ton of empathy for entertainers and athletes that are in the public eye. There's an enormous amount of attention. People are watching everything you do. There are people ready to write articles about every slip that you had. There are people waiting for you to fail because they profit off of that. Like there's a lot that rides on you. And watching how she was dealing with the pressure, right? And so many people, when they have these moments in life where they're at these like pinnacles of their career, you see them collapse.
Right.
You see them make really bad decisions. You see them, try to release the pressure with addiction to drugs, alcohol, and other different things that really are not the answer. Because at the end of the day, pressure is very much a stressor, right? And one of the things that we know is physiologically, stress is, did I say that? Did that come out right? Physiologically, is stress is energy, right? That's all it is, right? Scientifically, it is energy that has to be expended somehow, some way. And most times we don't even use it.
Yep.
And so we sit with it and we fester, and then we give it meaning. And then we feel like we got to get rid of that emotion somehow, some way. And then we get down to making really bad decisions.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the key takeaways is like, we have to constantly, as human beings on earth, trying to be in pursuit of something or simply live a problem-free life, which, by the way, does not exist. Right. But I think we need to always be in pursuit of like ways to better deal with stress management. Something I say all the time is like, what happened and what are you making it mean? You're making it mean because you're piped bust that, just another problem, another thing that's going to cost me a fortune, another thing, right? I know family members who love dogs. And guess what happens when you've had a dog for 15 years? The dog's eventually going to die.
Right.
Just like all the relationships that you love and you hold on to and you want to last forever, there's eventually going to be some sort of sadness that comes with that, right? So that's not like, imagine you have the busted pipe and your dog died. Those are just like happenstance things. That's just a part of life. It doesn't mean that life's attacking you or God's putting the devil is out to get you or like just none of that stuff. So what happened and what you make it mean are really a foundational principle for me dealing with stress in my life. And then I think it comes down to like emotional intelligence. Like you need to understand that like your perception creates your reality, right? And so your perception creates this pressure or a challenge.
And the crazy thing, and this is hard to say because I know people, because we feel things right in our bodies and we feel the stress and the pain of stress, then we believe that whatever we're experiencing is real. So it's really hard to tell people that pressure actually does not exist. It is simply something we create in our mind. Right. And we create our mind because we give meaning to all of these different variables in our life that when we do that, when we give it the meaning, it creates all of this attention and it's a pressure and focus that we take. And all of a sudden now we feel the pressure and the heat of the moment in the situation. Well, but it's all from our mind.
Yeah. I think that, the pressure that you invite into your life creates a greater tolerance for the weight that you can bear.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So like we look at athletes and like, how did Kobe wake up at 3 a.m. and go to practice every day at 4 while still, putting 20 plus years into the NBA, raising all these kids? And like, you look at people like that and we put them on a pedestal, but really ultimately he just pursued like weight training under pressure and eventually rose and got better, right? He signed up to do things that most people won't sign up to do. So then you get to reap a life with benefits that most people don't get to reap.
And he used it as a motivator, right? He used it as a vehicle to get the most out of himself. And I think that to me is the most impressive. And so if you're looking for a tip really quickly on how you use pressure, one I would say is that you have to find a way to create, if it's going to have a meaning, give it a meaning that gets you out of bed every day. Give it a meaning that gives you inspiration. And I go to athletes because I played basketball for many years. Like you hear like Kobe and Jordan that would look for little things for an edge to give them a certain amount of pressure for them to show up and be motivated and be inspired to play. And I think that's a very effective thing, especially if we're constantly giving things meanings, right? Why not give it a meaning like, oh my God, I need to show up for this so that this person I could beat on the court, or I needed to show up for my job or my career because I know this person is watching. And if this person is watching and I can make a difference in what I role model every single day and I can inspire them, then wow, then I've done a really good job. And that's a really good way for me to be motivated.
So I think number one, there's your tip, is find the motivator. Yeah. So why do you want to be great? What's your why? And I think that for a lot of people, creating conflict really helps. So for us, when we were struggling financially, we had conflict. There were other areas in our life where we wanted to create conflict. I want to create conflict around, our body and our health and our physique. So we created the conflict and that meant working out more, right? So that would be step number one, is find a motivator, figure out what your why is, and create some sort of conflict, because the conflict's going to find you regardless.
Yeah. And I'll just add to find that edge. And I think that motivator is that edge. Like I think about people in my family and I think about my mom, I think about my brother, I think about cousins and all those kind of things. And I think to myself, wow, if I can do something truly special truly special, that will help them in an indirect way to want to do something special for themselves. So I can be a vehicle for motivation and inspiration. And if I could, that's the pressure I want to put on myself to go after that.
And, with us having parents who are aging, who are probably going to need to rely on us in their later years, my motivator is I don't want to be a burden for my kids.
Right.
So I want to be the financial paver that, creates this wealth that lasts for generations to come, so that I don't become a problem for, not saying that our parents are problems, but seeing that and experiencing that, what I'm making it mean is I want to create a different path for our kids.
Yeah.
So find a motivator. Number 2, I would say choose your language. You got to choose a language that serves you. So problems are always going to find you, right? But what if it's not a problem, it's a challenge? Like that is just a game changer, right? Like if I ask you how your day was and you're like, it was fine, God, there's so much stressing me out right now. Is it true that I could say, I had a good day, I survived, I'm here, I'm healthy. There were some things that were unwanted today, but I figured out a way to power through.
Yeah. And
totally different.
100%. And, we've said this before, when we'll come home, I said, today was challenging, right? And because, Janelle knows me, she doesn't mean like, I'm not looking at it like, oh, I'm so stressed out by the challenge. I'm like, today was challenging. That was a good day.
Right.
The days that are challenging, I had to figure things out. I had to show up. I had to do my very best because there was something on the line. Those are good days. The days that are like, or the days where I was like, there wasn't much of a challenge today.
Well, I'll just tell you, I had a challenging week this week, and I was up until 2 a.m. when I had something that I was presenting the following morning at 8 a.m. And afterwards, I come out and Eddie's like, doesn't it feel good to just have it behind you? And that's it. We don't talk about it anymore. I'm not complaining about how tired I am, right? It was just like, we talked about the learning of, that was like legit self-induced procrastination because everything piled up this week and they were all competing priorities. And I don't like being in that situation. So how can we avoid this going forward? So language matters.
Yeah.
Some things that we say are, today was challenging, or that was inconvenient. Yesterday, when the guy's tire hit my dress, that's super inconvenient because now I got to throw the dress away because that tire grease is probably not going to come off.
We'll use the old school magic eraser on
whatever.
That.
So, another thing, Spock, Eddie uses this example all the time. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like when something is really absurd, what if you added a little humor and just said, that's fascinating.
Old school Spock.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, number 3, stop with the overwhelming to-do list and focus on 3 priorities daily. So if you had the Guide to Thrive journal, there's 3 priorities. There's not space for a laundry list of to-dos. And there's a huge difference between priorities and a to-do list, right? So last week when I had a week that was just really strenuous and demanded a lot of me, those are the weeks that, yes, the laundry still has to get done. Yes, meal prep still has to get done. We still have to eat, but the priorities are the priorities, right? So I think that to-dos get accomplished through scheduling and priorities get accomplished through focus.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Focus with a goal tied to it, right? Because if I have a to-do list, right, is that to-do list tied to a very specific goal I have for the week, for the month, whatever the case may be? And for priorities are usually tied to something very specific because there's an outcome that you're looking to obtain. So I think that that's super important.
Yep. Number 5, learn to protect your time. So I protect my time by, if I don't have time to meal prep, I'm going to order meal preps, right? I protect my time by saying no to more things than I say yes to. And I say no to the things that are not in alignment with my goals. So I'll give you an example of something simple in our household. I say no to us getting a dog or a puppy because I don't have time to bring one more thing into my life. If the dog gets sick, then now in the middle of my busy week, I have to figure out how to take it to the vet. I'm going to be complaining. I'm going to be angry about that because I know that those things, owning a dog comes with the fact that I need to make time to, take care of it, to love it, to walk it. I don't have that time. So I have to say no, regardless of how cute puppies are, how much my kids want dogs. Like I have to say no because the burden will fall on me And that's not, I don't have time for that right now.
Yeah. And that invades the things that are your focus and important. Yeah.
So stop overwhelming yourself and start saying no more often. Number 4, schedule downtime and rest days. So most people are super overwhelmed because they're just trying to go too fast in life and business.
Yeah.
And this is easier said than done. Trust me, we're recording our episodes of the podcast on a Sunday, and that's like our rest day. That's our family day. But oftentimes, like Sunday's the best day in the morning for us to record these episodes. And so you've just got to stop, you've got to start saying yes to rest periods so that you can re-energize yourself, recharge yourself. And think about this. You can check out for an hour. Maybe it's not a whole day, but if you're feeling the weight of the world and everything's coming down on you and the pipes are busted, the dog is sick, work has just let you go, we don't know where money's going to come in. Is it true that you could still say, I can't fix any of this right now, so I'm just going to go take a nap for an hour. I'm going to meditate for an hour.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a $40 foot massage right now because I just need to do something to just rest, relax, reset, and just get my head and my mind off of these problems that will still be there in an hour when I revisit them.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep. Stop stacking. Number 6, stop stacking. What does this mean?
Stop stacking. I think you have, a problem, you have situations that are going on. And then what you do is you start stacking them all up because for whatever reason, you feel like I got to look at all of them like a stack of books and I got to and really feel the weight of everything. Knowing that back to the priority, there are certain things in that stack are a priority. There are certain things in that stack that you can't control.
Right.
And when you stack it, what you're doing is you're just creating an enormous amount of stress for yourself because you're trying to look at all the problems. And then that's when you fall into the kind of woe is me. Right. Why I have all these issues instead of it saying, okay, let me just wipe this whole thing down. I just, I took Janelle's advice and Eddie's advice and I took the downtime. Now I'm just going to grab the one problem. What's the solve for this? Right? Instead of stacking it all up.
And the last tip is choose gratitude and joy. So if you're wanting to be happy, you can't wait until all of your problems go away or solve themselves, or now you're living this life that's problem free. It just doesn't work like that. So some tips you can do, you can journal 3 things daily that you're grateful for. Again, in the gratitude journal, that's what we offer. You can be grateful for your children, even though they're driving you crazy, making tons of noise. You can be grateful for other blessings, like even though the pipe is busted in the house, you still have a roof over your head, right?
Right.
You can be grateful for lots of things. And I think when you get to a place of gratitude, it helps kind of put things into perspective to let you know that, okay, this is an issue. It's not going to go away, but I am still so blessed.
Yeah. And I'll just add something because I think the journal, writing things down is so important because a lot of times we have all these, problems and things that are coming up. And because we don't write it down, we try to balance it all in our heads. It's hard to organize things. It's hard to even know what's the priority because you just haven't looked at it on paper. And a lot of times when you write it all down and maybe even right next to it, what can I control? And then what can't I control? And that really will laser your focus because I think what we see a lot of time when it comes to pressure is that people are trying to control outcomes that they don't have control over. I can't control how someone feels about me, right? Yep. I can't control the result of this. Even though I put all my effort into it, the result is out of my hands. I can't control how my kids will grow up. I can't control all those things. And so how I let go of those things and really focus on the process that does everything within the process that does everything to help me get the best outcome I could possibly get.
Yep. And the last tip I'd say is just focus on the things that make you happy. So that could be a quick bike ride around your neighborhood or a bike ride around the beach. That could be sitting outside watching the sunset. That could be just things like, a movie night at home with your partner or your kids, a backyard gathering with girlfriends, or, just small things that would help you maybe talk through some of your problems, move your body, eat right. Like we know these things help with stress, but oftentimes we overlook those.
Yeah.
So that's why I made it last, because that's probably the last thing you're going to do. You're like, how could I make time for movie night if I'm already stressed out and the weight of the world is bringing me down, Janelle? Well, I'm telling you that the problems will be there in an hour when the movie's over. So you need to start thinking about the problems in a different way. The problems are still going to be there. How can I take a pause right now so that way I'm not a raging lunatic who who's only focusing
and maybe
on the
that
problems.
movie will give you an idea and how to solve it.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, we're doing a countdown to get to 100 episodes. This is episode number 91. So we'll be looking for your reviews, your comments. Let us know if you have a favorite episode. Share it on social. And each week for the next 10 weeks, we're going to be choosing 3 people to send a pusher t-shirt and a brand new Guide to Thrive journal. Thanks so much for listening, you guys, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, push through.
Thank you for listening to the Push Podcast. Hey, we want to hear from you. So if you have a question or there's a particular topic that you want us to tackle and you want us to help you push through, you got to do something for us. You got to go to Apple Podcasts and you got to leave a rating and a review. And in that review, go ahead and leave that question with your Instagram handle so that we can shout you out when we actually answer the question. And we'll talk about that on the podcast and make sure that, hey, this particular podcast is made for you. So leave a rating, leave a review, leave your handle, and until next time, push through.